ask a question about drops of dance. Let's just say to start that the key and the small dance are both elements of our normal movement that I've thought were particularly important. See, this is where learning movement helped me find a a fundamental movement element. So I learned Aikido. In Aikido, they talk about ki, about developing ki, about using ki. Unfortunately, my teacher didn't speak English. Um, and indeed, I was in Brazil when I found Chica had some books from her study of Aikido that I hadn't seen. And it was the first time I had seen Aikido in language. So one of the questions for me was, what is ki? What does it mean? And what the book said was, ki is a Japanese word and it's never translated into other languages. And it's difficult to describe, and you'll find it out in practice on the mat.
Yeah,
So that made me think that, I mean, I had studied Aikido very hard. I had, sometimes been in class 3 times a day. I was as obedient, as devoted as I could be. I gave it my all. So I thought, well, maybe I should ask myself what ki is. I used it every day. I thought about it every day. I tried to make it bigger. I tried to make it more as it was described. What is it? What did I do? Furthermore, how can a martial art be based on the idea of ki and the Western world have no word or thought or idea that it exists? Well, I'm not going to pretend that English is the most body friendly language, but I think what I found, the necessary ingredients of the kind of ki they talked about in Aikido was that it originated in the pelvis, moves up the back and into the underside of the arm and out these 2 fingers and into the far reaches of the universe. I find it difficult to imagine the whole universe. So my ki doesn't go that far, but I can feel something that relates to how we start to initiate a movement, and especially movements involving reaching or pointing, starting in the pelvis at the center of mass, which is where all gesture has to relate to. Gestures of the legs, gestures of the arms, everything has to relate to the center. So the pathway is the back, which is the columns of muscle of the torso. And then the underside of the arm. This is so interesting why it's the underside of the arm. And maybe that's the martial art part of it. But when you press, if you have ki flowing here and something comes to attack you, if you're using ki and if it's going on that path, it means that the pressure of the attack goes down and it's reinforced by the center of mass. Somebody who's attacking you is coming off of their weight to attack. They're losing their balance, essentially, to throw their mass into your mass, a knife, a punch. So they're energy, well, let me see, their mass and energy is off of their center, coming away from their center. You're receiving it by transmitting it into your center, which is calm and grounded. So it's like what it would be like. Here's the attack, rawr, right? It's coming onto you, and you just take it down to the earth. This pressure is transmitted down to the earth. It's difficult for the attack to move the earth. Attacks are not all that simple, and but that's the general principle. That's the key. And I think the key can be found at the moment where you shake hands with another person. I say this because I always like to find an example in real life for these ideas. Key is an abstract idea, it's a martial arts idea, da 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 da. But no, it's part of our movement. Somebody found it. Somebody distilled it. I mean, it's important not to be overwhelmed by the brilliance of the past. Some ordinary person had to discover meditation. Some ordinary person had to discover key. After they discovered it, they became Buddha or Ueshiba, the Aikido master. But the person otherwise was, before that, much like you all, or Lisa. The simple idea, it's an arc, and it's a reach. I think it's very much related to reaching, to pointing, to extending of all kinds. Go ahead and finish. So this is impossible for me to demonstrate because I have a right hand and a left hand. And normally when you shake hands, it's the right hand with the right hand, normally. So you reach and there's a clasp of the hand, these two fingers. This is for a good handshake, a well-meant handshake, where you really mean to enforce the touch. And at that moment, just before you touch, these fingers, which are going to clasp, extend. It's a little moment in movement flight. You can see it if you look fast. And it contains ki. It doesn't contain it to the end of the universe, but it contains it as far as the reach. But just a point, what am I doing now? I'm extending. I'm saying it's over there. At this level, I'm using minimal energy. It's an interesting gesture because I'm making it from here, it's bones and muscle coming from, I guess, from the center of my body, and from here on to the end of the universe, it's imagination. So this is a universal gesture for humans. It means all languages. I think it has ki in it. It's not the right finger, but it's for a different purpose. I think that gentle energy of just maintaining the bones and extension a little bit is ki, or contains ki. It is ki-like. Strengthening of this part by practice turns this part into a major part of the hand. With normal life, we have these three fingers as the major part of the hand. These three are what we eat with, I think it's based, these three are the top of the arm, and they go up and they connect in the neck and to behind the head, so that this gesture is the contraction of one system of muscles. Now, if you want to try the next one, go ahead and try it physically, because it's very interesting to feel. Lie down on your stomach, put your head on the forehead on the floor, and then push up so that you're looking horizontally. So the part of your hands that you push up on will be the last two fingers. And if you want to really give yourself a paradox, try to push up with the first three fingers. So this says that the first three fingers are for pulling, and the last two fingers are for pushing. And so we have two hands in one. These two are pushing, these three are pulling and grasping and holding, getting the sushi into the mouth. Hello, did the rest of you survive the experiment? Hola, are you okay? Is there any problem with feeling that? So the Aikido gesture and using these, they're using to repel the attack, the right fingers. Okay, the small dance. Small dance is just standing relaxed. It brings to question what would happen if I relaxed more and I fell down. And you'll notice that you can tell the limit. You know where that limit is. Okay, so you're standing relaxed, you're breathing easy, you're very upright, because I think it's interesting. I think it's most interesting if you're not like hunched over, but if you're really up and open, full torso, full of air. The idea that you're standing still might happen. You might think, oh, I'm standing still. But this is just a language shorthand. Because in fact, what's happening is so much more complex than language can tell you easily, quickly, like he's standing over there, he's standing still, I don't know what he's doing. Language has been hiding the fact in standing still is an infinite number of physical movements. I say infinite because I can't count them. I mean uncountable. I guess I don't mean infinite. I guess I mean uncountable. So it starts off being, oh, I'm not falling down. Oh, I'm leaning a little forward. I correct, or I'm leaning a little backward. I correct. And then it gets to be that you feel um, a sort of almost like lightning or electricity in the muscles of balancing. All the structural muscles are involved and responsible for your balance. They're volunteering. You're not telling them what to do. They volunteer to do the right thing. If you are a person who doesn't think about their body, this might be a place to start, because you are looking at, I guess it's your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind, in your whole body at once. Um, um, you can be thinking about anything else. You can be thinking about supper, and the balance will remain. What is this? Why do I have it? How can I use it? What does it mean? I think it means, they say that this is not this is not scientific research, but it is popular on the internet, for instance. They say that you use 10% of your mind. That is to say, for consciousness. This means that 90% of your brain is doing unconscious things. I mean, you could say, okay, I'm working with 10% and that's all there is, and I don't have any more, but then you balance. And hundreds of thousands of muscle movements keep you balanced for, 5 minutes or so. So the achievement of that balancing is more complex than I can imagine. I think the 90%, or it doesn't matter, all we have to do is say the unconscious is bigger and more complex than the consciousness. The consciousness can't see it. That's the big joke. But we can see it a little bit. We can see it in the stand. We can see it in the heartbeat. We can see it in our automatic physical things, digestion. Maybe we can see it. Maybe we can see it when we're overwhelmed with beauty. On a cloudy day and you're standing on a mountain and you turn around and look and there's a sunset of such glory and complexity that it just knocks you out. I mean, this is the kind of sunset where in the classical paintings, the angels fly and God appears. So I think that kind of feeling is not conscious. Or a beautiful dance, you see a beautiful dance and you just can't believe how beautiful it was. I think maybe your unconscious is giving you some extra hormones to, as a clap for your consciousness to notice this dance. I've been very interested in my dreams the last couple of years. I think they're another layer of the unconscious. So this isn't about muscles keeping me balanced, but it's about something. I don't know what it's about. And what I've noticed is that my dreams have patterns. So the dreams I like the best always have an enormous and bizarre landscape or space. There are other patterns too. Very often I'm in this space and I'm moving around and I can't get back where I started. I back and I can't get back. So that's a pattern. It's not one, it's one I question, saying, what is this about? Why can't I do what I want in my own dreams? And it turns out my consciousness, I pretty much know I'm dreaming when I dream. I have an awareness. So I'm not just living in a situation. I'm also critiquing the dream as I dream. And I just want to know why one part of my brain is fighting with another part of my brain in this way. It's not what I thought a human being was. So there's much to find out. The small dance is a little doorway. There are more little doorways. The tuning work provides doorways for you to observe, and not only to observe what you do, but observe what you observe. And I think there is the potential to observe more. As Lisa's conversation yesterday proves, she has observed more. The small dance. Rodrigo, the connection, if you do the small dance the way I do it, first you stand still for a long time until the consciousness gets tired of feeling like it's controlling the stand and goes on to think of other things, and meanwhile the stand continues. Imagine, but don't do it, imagine that you're about to take a step with your right foot. Are you familiar with this? So for the YouTube people, I'll give the formula, as it were, of this next doorway. Imagine, but don't do it. Imagine that you're about to take a step with your right foot. So I say this twice, which is a trick to set up expectation. I say again, imagine, but don't do it. Imagine that you're about to take a step with your right foot. And then I say, relax to standing. In other words, give up the idea of taking a step. And then I say, imagine, but don't do it. Imagine that you're about to take a step with your left foot. So you have that hint of expectation of right foot. And then I say, and you feel something internal shift as you go from thinking about one foot to thinking about the other foot. You have the awareness that your body changes when you think of a different action or a different part. You think left foot, the whole body changes. And then I say, take a step with your right foot. Actually, it doesn't stop there. Wait a minute. Before I say actually do take a step, I go for a walk, an imaginary walk. This is fun for the students. And that walk goes like this. Imagine, but don't do it, that you're about to take a step with your left foot, with your
Então,
right foot. You're not walking, you're standing still, you're imagining walking. The imagination is causing the body, the thought is causing the body to shift. You feel it happening. You're not doing it. It's just the body is thinking, the body is responding to the thought that you're having. All you have to do is have the thought, the body responds, and it shifts everything, you know, to the other side of the body. Taking a step is leg key. I know, I never said it before in my life. I've never said these words. Leg key, key in the leg. It's coming from the center of mass. It's reaching down the leg, going into the heel of the foot, and it goes like that. Full circle, Rodrigo. Is that okay? When I first did it, this was back in 1967, I gave the first small dance. I did it for a high school class, and I had them stand for an hour and a half, but with breaks. I don't know to what degree stamina in small standing is a virtue. Now you are the experts in long standing, so you tell me what the virtues are. It might just be having the two parts of the brain look at each other for so long. I wonder what the unconscious brain thinks of the conscious brain. Consciousness is curious, isn't it? I'm very interested in consciousness too, because it's only with her consciousness that Lisa can talk about all these parts of the perception puzzle. It's only with consciousness that we can communicate about the small dance. It's as though there are parts of the brain that the consciousness can become aware of and think about. I guess it means consciousness as a witness or as a detective. So maybe the identity of the consciousness has to do with what you are doing. Working with words, going to the store, playing a game, dancing. The reason I chose gravity for a subject was that it's such a good example of something that we are not conscious of very much. And so it's a good example of how consciousness doesn't examine some things. So here's gravity operating on every cell in the body all the time, and consciousness doesn't visit there very much. What would happen if you thought about gravity all the time? What if you did a 30-minute think on gravity? Not the small dance, because that's about the bodies more, but just to follow gravity in your life for 30 minutes, as opposed to gravity for 2 seconds while you trip or you fall down, or gravity for, you know, 5 minutes while you're on a carnival ride. Most games use gravity as part of the equipment. The fact that it's a game means that you don't think about gravity, you think about the goal. So you can be using gravity, but not thinking about it, but thinking about, running across the yard, or right now you're sitting down. I'm thinking more about my butt than I'm thinking about gravity. Some of the difficulties of having such a thought for 30 minutes.